Alright everybody, in this video we're going to talk about finding patterns. Welcome back. So the main comment here at the start, it says patterns exist in many places in our world, and it's an important skill to be able to look at pieces of related information and determine what patterns exist. That holds true for much of life, looking for patterns in the weather or in people's behavior. The idea of analyzing patterns is a skill that's going to be very important for you as you move past this current state where you're in. In this course, though, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on patterns in shapes and numbers. The first example that we look at here says to identify the next item in the following patterns. And so we look first at part A and look at what you see and try to figure out, what do these items in the pattern have in common with one another, what's different about them. And hopefully you quickly see that all of these drawings in the first pattern are drawings of dots in the shape of triangles. But what changes as we go from one to the next? Well, it looks to me like all we do is we add one more row of dots at the bottom with one more dot than the row before. So my next item in this pattern is going to be a triangle of dots. Not doing the best job drawing dots here. With one more row with one more dot added below. And so it looks like that's going to be the next item in our pattern. Alright, the second pattern we see on this page deals with numbers. And the question becomes, as we look at a pattern here, we're looking for something that happens for us to move from one item to the next in the pattern. And when we're looking at numerical patterns like this one, we're normally looking for something to be added or subtracted or multiplied or divided to get from one term to the next. Usually something consistent or something that is increasing in a pattern of its own. If I look at this, let's start looking at it from an addition standpoint. To go from the first term to the second, I add 5. Second term to the third, I add 5. I add 5. And so it looks to me like I've found the pattern where all I'm going to do to get from one term to the next is add 5. And so the next item in the pattern, I'm going to take the last item and add 5 to it. And so the next item in this pattern, I think, is 30. Should be 30. Okay? Let's do a few more numerical examples. It says here, when we look at numerical patterns, we should focus on trying to find an operation that is used consistently to get from one term to the next. While this isn't always going to work, it will work the majority of the time. Excuse me. Let's look at this first pattern. Is there something that I'm adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing consistently to get from one term to the next? So I normally start thinking from the addition standpoint. If I add 4, I get from the first term to the second term. If I add 4, I get from the first term to the second term, or second term to the third term. If I add 4, so it looks like our pattern here is just going to be to add 4, and we're supposed to identify the next 3 terms. So I'm going to add 4 to this 15, and then add 4 to that, and add 4 to that. And those are my next 3 terms in this sequence. Alright, and then I look at B. Let's see, if I add 1, then I add 2, then I add 4. Doesn't really look like I have a good pattern going on there. So let's consider multiplying instead. If I go from 1 to 2, I'm multiplying by 2, 2 to 4, I'm multiplying by 2, 4 to 8, I'm multiplying by 2. And so it looks like I'm generating this pattern by multiplying the previous term by 2. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take the last term that I have, multiply it by 2, take that, multiply it by 2, take that and multiply it by 2. And those are the next 3 terms in this pattern. Alright. Now in part C here, again, I'm going to try and look at it from an addition standpoint. I add 1, I add 2, I add 3, I add 4, and well, you'll notice what we're adding is not always the same. We see a pattern in what we're adding. We're always adding 1 more than we did to the previous term. So I'm going to continue to follow that pattern. I'm going to take the 11 and add 5, and then add 6, then add 7. And those are the next 3 terms in this pattern. Alright, let's do just a couple more examples. I will say that in this particular unit, the patterns that we're most interested in are ones where we're adding or subtracting the same value, the same exact value to go from term to term. Those are the ones that we're going to be most focused on. So let's look at what we've got going on here. We're adding 6, we're adding 6, we're adding 6, and so I'm going to continue to add 6 starting here. So 25 plus 6 is 31. Add 6 to that, add 6 to that. Those should be the next 3 terms in this pattern. Alright, now let's see, look at B. This time I'm not adding, the numbers are getting smaller, so I'm subtracting 6 as I go from one term to the next. So I'm going to take the last term and subtract 6, so negative 10, and then subtract 6 from that, and subtract 6 from that. And let's see, this last one, again, my numbers are getting smaller, so I'm going to look at it from a subtraction standpoint. Subtract 30, subtract 30, subtract 30, and so I'm going to continue on from this term, subtracting 30, 410 minus 30, 380. 380 minus 30 is 350, and 350 minus 30 is 320. And those are the next 3 terms in that pattern. That concludes this video on finding patterns. See you next time.